Hi, Isaiah. How are you?
I'm great, Judy. How are you?
Pretty good. Thanks for coming on. It was good talking to you on the phone the other day. And I'm kind of excited to hear about your story. So we'll go ahead and jump in. Isaiah, what was your health condition before you met Dr. Wu?
So, right before I met Dr. Ming Wu, I had PTSD and depression.
Yeah. So can you elaborate more on why and how that happened?
Yeah, so the cause of my trauma was I had been jumped and robbed.
Oh,
Um, yeah, it was pretty traumatic for me. I'd never really experienced anything like that before, and it made daily living quite unbearable.
and how long ago was this? How old were you when this happened?
I had just turned 18, and it was in 2014.
Yeah, that's extremely young. Yeah. So during that period, when you experienced that anxiety and depression and all that, did you make a connection with that? When you got jumped and you said that you were experiencing that PTSD or depression, anxiety, did you make the connection it was because you got jumped?
Oh, absolutely, yes. It began immediately afterward. I experienced it for at least 3 months. My personal remedy was to drop out of high school and
Right.
start training mixed martial arts. And I had gone to the hospital and I was also diagnosed with depression. And they only had a prescription to offer me, but at the time I wasn't very interested in that. Continued with the martial arts.
Oh, wow. So your Western doctor just gave you anxiety pills?
So I never saw the doctor.
Oh,
They
you
sent the
never
nurse.
saw him. Okay.
I went in the room.
Right.
They sent the nurse in. I explained what had happened to me, and they said that, the doctor is too busy. Here's a prescription you can pick up at your local Walgreens.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. So you just opted out completely.
I never even saw a doctor.
Oh,
I was like, how do
oh
you know what I
goodness.
need? I never even saw a doctor. Yeah.
Oh wow. And so you continued with martial arts. What kind of martial arts did you do?
Oh, I did a lot, but to keep it simple, a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and a lot of Muay Thai kickboxing. And there were
Mhm.
some more specialized ones that I did as well.
Oh wow. And how did you meet Dr. Wu?
So at the time, being in a mixed martial arts gym meant competitively fighting with the other trainers. And my mom, being a mom, wanted to see me do something a little bit more peaceful and zened out. And she had my sister, who was already in Dr. Wu's children Tai Chi class, practicing for ADHD and other types of, mental health to help her through elementary and middle school. And so she recommended that I would go check him out just to give it a chance. Kind of explained to me that he was from China and that this was more of his cultural background and it was less
Right.
violent, and that I should definitely go see him.
And so did you go see him then?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay.
I was very curious. I was like, what does this guy know that, maybe this American mixed martial arts gym
Yeah.
may have no idea about? And we booked a consultation. And upon meeting Dr. Wu, he was a very, very peaceful man. Um, I remember just coming into the office and he was so energetic and ready to receive me. He just had me sit down. I told him my story. He didn't interrupt me at all. He was so there, such a big heart. He just listened. And
Yeah.
then he asked me if I was open to receiving Twina for a moment.
Hmm.
And I said yes. I had no idea what that meant.
Right.
And he then took his knuckle and dug it into the crevice in my neck. Um, Having never been touched like that before, I almost like elevated out of my seat, like, whoa, here we go.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I remember I like my eyes shut and inside I saw like white light. And I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
whoa, what is that energy? And then he let me go. And right when I sat back down, I previously had PTSD triggers that had caused me to drop out of school and suffer the depression daily. The PTSD triggers were just thinking back to what happened and reliving it over and over and over again every day, every morning, every moment. And I never knew when it would hit. So
Oh,
when he released and I sat back down, I noticed that I wasn't in danger. And it was a very, very serene feeling. Suddenly, I could tell that what had happened to me was no longer happening. Um,
that's incredible. So, Isaiah, what what acupressure point was that on the back of your
that,
skull?
yeah, so that's C2. Right, if you
C2? Uh-huh.
follow the ear, it's right
Right.
in this little crevice.
Got it. And how long did he push on that point?
So he basically, I want to say maybe 3 seconds.
He pushed that for 3 seconds and you felt
Yeah.
like this jolt of energy and release and serenity.
Yeah. Yeah. The
That's
serenity
pretty
came after.
magical. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that's very astounding. I mean, what did you, I mean, did you feel like you were having like a out of body experience or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I sat down and it was such a profound feeling. I remember being in awe. I looked up at him and my first words to him were, "You teach Tai Chi?" He
Oh,
said, "Yes."
yeah.
And I said, "I'm absolutely in your class every single week. I want to learn whatever it is you offer because I was just so grateful. Like this PTSD had taken me out of school for months. The doctors couldn't help me. I was fighting every day, felt like I was fighting for my life. And suddenly I wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty magical to hear that. I mean, it's hard to just fathom the fact that he pushed an acupressure point of C2 for a few seconds and it literally changed the course of your life.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think is going on when that happens? When he's pushing, when he uses his knuckle to push on the C2, do you know what is happening in your body?
So the way that I've come to understand it, also now being a tween out practitioner,
Right.
is he's done so much Tai Chi. I don't even think of it as a pushing. I
Right.
think of it more as he's simply grounding my energy to
Mm-hmm.
his body in what we call the bow staff, or bow stance. And he's releasing tension from that particular spot. He says that the electrical signal in my body is trying to go and do its job, but
Oh,
unfortunately
wow.
keeps getting stuck in this one spot. The closest thing that I've ever been able to explain to people is almost like if you were an electrician and you wanted your light bulb to turn back on and it was flickering, you wouldn't necessarily go to the symptom or the light bulb itself. You would go to the part of the wire that has the blockage or the obstruction, and you would remove that or maybe fuse that with energy or cords, and then the light bulb will come back on. So I believe that my flickering was my symptom of PTSD.
Wow.
Energy was not getting to circulate properly, and he was able to, because it wasn't like a forcible push. It was just he knew the right conditions, right where to go, and my body followed. So
Yeah.
it never felt aggressive. It never felt like he was jabbing in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I received it. It was absolutely amazing.
I love this subject a lot. I've interviewed Dr. Wu before on this, and he talks a lot about this bioelectrical system and this energetic system in your body. And Western medicine does not really recognize or acknowledge that. And when I hear this, it's just an incredible story to know that it's very real and it works. And so how long did you do Tuina and I don't want to say fully recovered, but yeah, I mean, you saw immense improvements on that. Like, what was the
So
duration?
So essentially, the way the PTSD one went was he pushed for 3 seconds, and then after that, I trained Tai Chi. So it was the Tai Chi that really grounded my essence and my being. I did that for an entire year because I was out of school. So I did a lot of Tai Chi that year. And I remember I was only taught one move at a time. So
Right.
I would just train that one move. I first month was just standing meditation. I would stand in one spot until I could go for 5 minutes to 20 minutes to 30 minutes, all the way up to an hour. And then after that first month, I was just training Tai Chi every single day. And then I felt that sense of ease in my life kind of just get easier and easier as I went. The trigger itself was gone in that very initial appointment. So that I cannot really
Goodness.
explain how, I guess when you really are looking for that solution to the root cause, because I was already prescribed and I was like, I know that's not gonna, it's just gonna cover this up. I'm looking to find out what's wrong, what's going on. And I was so available for that. And he was just, he didn't explain anything to me. He didn't really complicate anything. He just did it. And suddenly I was like, wow. And with the Tai Chi, I was able to kind of just ground the rest of my energy in a way that allowed my body to not like get too excited or not like um, attach to like external things. I just felt more and more calm as I kept doing the Tai Chi.
Wow. Wow. I mean, you're saying that you only received one session on those 2 points and the PTSD was essentially gone.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's very, very powerful. And so that one session pretty much triggered you on this Tai Chi path. And the Tai Chi was kind of like a continual way of rejuvenating your body.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Wow.
definitely kept the results lasting.
Yes.
Now, being a Tuina practitioner, I understand that when they do the Tuina, they're breaking the blockages, clearing out the obstructed path, allowing the energy to circulate. And when you do Tai Chi, you're encouraging the flow of that energy. So as long as you do keep doing Tai Chi, it will, it's almost as if the water continuously runs down the rock so that the blockage doesn't build back up.
So you're keeping the circulation moving, like the oxygen, the blood, the chi, right?
The chi, yeah. The chi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Everything else follows the chi, but yes.
right, right. No, I love that analogy about keeping the river flowing. And, you know, we forget that we are energetic beings and that the life force is what fuels us. Can you kind of take me on your journey of your Tai Chi practice? Like your first 3 months versus, years now. Like initially in the beginning, you said you were learning one step at a time, one move at a time. How did you feel internally? Can you kind of take through, you know, in your mind and on a spiritual level what was going on?
Yeah. So I show up in class
Yeah.
and I'm 18, so he says, "Okay, you're gonna be in the kids' class." And to, to my right is Yeeman and Jasmine. Jasmine's my younger sister, and they know more than me.
Yeah.
So he shows me one move, and then he goes into another room, and I don't know
Wow.
what he's doing. So he's like, if you have questions, you just ask them. It's almost like the children are my resource, and
Yes, your little sister. Okay.
so so I'm one move at a time. Halfway through, they go sit down and start coloring, and I just keep doing my one move. He comes out of the room and tells me that he has these videos about the stances on YouTube. So at the end of class, I go home and I connect the computer to the TV, and I put up on the TV Dr. Wu standing still in these stances. And my legs can only take so much. So I'm going like 1 minute, 2 minutes, and there's five of them. So that's already like a 10-minute practice at home. So I have a little bit of homework, and
Yeah.
it's Mondays and Tuesdays. Something that really benefited my Tai Chi practice is he used to do a T class on Tuesdays where he would translate the Tao for us.
Oh, wow.
And his wife would bring a vegetarian meal. I remember like wood ear mushrooms, these amazing rice dishes, the best Chinese food I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
Can't get it from takeout.
Right.
Um, and Dr. Wu would get so deep about the translation because so much is lost in the English translation, and he would let us know what parts we could let go of and what parts to really ground on and absorb. And then like by the second month, so the first month is primarily stances and doing very basic like 1 to 6
Moves.
first
Yeah.
movements. Yeah, it was very, very slow. Then we had another woman training there. He was doing this really cool thing. Nowadays, we have like certifications, we have workshops, there's a structure. This is before the movie was filmed. The movie was filmed during my Tai Chi practice. So I'm actually in the movie.
The Who Am
Um,
I? The Who Am I
yeah,
documentary. Oh, you were in
yes.
the film. I saw that. Oh, if I didn't recognize you, but that's
I'm in.
awesome.
So it's really funny because I was, even though I had come out of the PTSD, I was still being very private. I wasn't like, "Woo, I'm out of PTSD. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go take off." Like I like I
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
the Tai Chi kept very grounded. So the first time someone showed up, Caleb Benson shows up and he's got this huge camera and he's filming in the class, and none of us know what's going on, and so we all just act natural. We do the Tai Chi like he's not even in the room. And then when he's done at the end of class, Ming goes, "Yeah, we're gonna be on PBS." So
Oh my goodness. That is hysterical. You're going to be on
so
PBS. Oh yeah, just one of the biggest networks.
yep. So you'll see in the movie the first class that he shoots, I'm in it, the Tai Chi class, and then the second class they jump to another clip. I'm not in the second class because I'm like I skipped the next class so that I'm not in this huge PBS documentary that I don't. I was just doing my
Right.
Tai Chi. It wasn't,
Right.
I didn't realize how deep this rabbit hole was gonna go.
Right.
And yes,
That's very clever of him, huh?
yeah, he was very, very quiet back then. It was amazing. Our Tai Chi practices were primarily silent. So again, like 3 months in, one of his students that he had taken on and he was training. And I don't remember there being like workshops and all these rankings and branding. It was just kind of like, okay, since you've done this for this amount of time, I'm going to take you on and train you. Her name is Donna Gordon. I was taught by Donna, I was taught by his wife, Shirley, and I was taught by Dr. Wu. All three of them took me to about halfway through the form. So there are particular sections of the form that I learned from his wife, particular
Right.
parts of the form I learned from his student, and then he would come and correct me,
Mm.
uh, just so he could save all his time. He's
Yeah.
a busy guy.
Yeah. No,
And
that's good.
yeah, I got 2 years, 2 years in, probably 1 year in, I learned half of the form. And then
Wow.
at
And
the one
half
year
a
mark,
year. Half a year
no,
you learned half the form?
no, 1 year. One
One
year I learned half.
year.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was
That's
very
pretty
slow. Yeah.
intense.
Very
Yeah.
slow.
Yes.
And then at that point, I had gone back to high school. So I still made Mondays and Tuesdays. And he had put me in the adult class at halfway through. So I actually learned the other half by watching everyone around me. And that's how everyone learns now is they go to the beginner class to learn a certain amount of moves. And then you go to the advanced class and you just follow along. And so the learning of Tai Chi took me 2 years.
Wow.
And yeah. And I
No, I
mean,
believe you.
I have
Yeah.
not fully learned Tai Chi at all. I still feel like an infant when I'm doing
Yeah.
it. But to be able to know the movements, and it's like riding a bike. Like if you don't pedal any differently. Like if you do something that's not the right move, you feel it immediately. Like, oh, this doesn't feel right.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a programming almost, or like a symbiotic training that like your body feels like, okay, all my weight's on this side, I'm gonna shift to this side. Um, and at the 2 year mark, I could successfully do it on my own
Got
without
it.
the yeah.
Isaiah, how many moves are there in the full flow?
Yeah, 108 in our long form. Yeah,
Oh
it's
my goodness.
108 postures. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that many moves. 108?
Yeah.
I
Yep.
took Tai Chi for a short bit, and I think about 6, 8 months, I kind of just, disappeared. But I will try it again. But I had no idea it was 108 moves. That's incredible. And now that you're a practitioner, well, first off, why did you want to become a practitioner?
Okay. So I think this was Dr. Wu's way of just keeping me with a goal in mind as I was training. He kept saying these things to everybody in class. You can be an instructor. You can be an instructor. And at the time, there was no like formal workshop you could sign up for. And then it came my turn. He would look at me and go, Isaiah's going to teach the younger generation. And
He
you
just
know,
volunteers you. That is
right?
hysterical. I mean, he didn't even ask you, Isaiah. He just
Oh no,
he's like,
no.
you're gonna do this.
Um, I remember just being so grateful, and also I'm really young, so I still
Yeah.
had a lot of an ego. The
Yes.
PTSD might have been gone, but the ego was still alive and present. And I remember taking on this mental flood of energy, just thinking like, oh my God, I'm gonna be teaching this to kids, I'm gonna be teaching this to people. Like I need to practice even more. And I definitely took it right to the head. It was good for my practice, and I taught my friends in high school. I had people
Wow.
come, and I did, in fact, teach for a little bit, but not like the whole form or anything like that. Not on any type of formal class, just on some like, hey guys, come check out what I've been doing for the past 2 years.
Right.
And that was great. And I was working a job at the same time, and I started to have some chronic pain.
Oh, wow.
And it was just like the actual like fast pace work environment, constantly go 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 go, and I had developed some shoulder pain.
Mm.
So I was telling him about it, and he used another pressure point on the hand right around here for the neck, and he again pressed it for not even 3 seconds, and boom, my shoulder pain went away. I could turn my neck. He goes, okay, now look to the left, and my neck's going all the way. I'm like, what the? I was gonna call out for this, like I was not gonna make it to work. I
Wait,
was in,
Isaiah, what
you
point
know,
can you show again?
right here. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's between the middle and the first finger.
Yeah.
And what number is that?
So I don't really have a number for this one. It's
Oh,
part of our top 10 common points.
it is. Okay.
And it's called um hand point for the neck in the
Okay.
book. And I never committed the numbers, especially back then with the C2 or this point
Right.
when he first taught me. It was just like I knew where it was because I had never felt anything like that
Yeah,
before. It's like I
if
was
you
like,
can
it's right here, it's
eliminate
right here,
pain
I'm telling you.
immediately, you're like, who cares about the numbers? Let's just do it. I
Yeah,
love that. I think
yeah,
I need to use it.
yeah.
Wow.
And
So
I
yeah.
never had any formal training. And again, he was like so adamant that like since I knew that point, because um it was my experience, because I didn't know about Tweena, because I had no prior knowledge and I had felt it for the first time. It was his belief that that meant I knew how to show it to other people because I knew where it was because I felt it.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's essentially when I started getting regular Tweena appointments with him because I wanted the effect on my whole body. And I remember like I was not making a lot of money and I was cutting a huge chunk out for that because it was so worth it. It was absolutely worth it. It was extremely painful. And at times I was like, what is going on up there? And I got
Yeah.
off that table. I felt like I was levitating. I was like, this is like night and day. I felt so good. And like within 2 or 3 years, the Who Am I movie was coming out. And he started having workshops where you could actually train and learn like a level one, level two, and get like some formal training going for yourself and start a small business if you wanted to help more people. And Dr. Wu is just absolutely amazing and phenomenal in that sense as well, where like he invests his whole heart into his students
Yes.
to the point where he does not, you know, this is he's never hogged the ball. He has always take the ball, just put it right in our hands, right in our court, and said, like, you can take this as far as you want, and I will help you. And, you know, if you get stuck here, you can do this. And if you get stuck there, you can do this. And he has like a structure and he has a path for each one of his practitioners. It's absolutely beautiful. And I took the Tween Out workshop. I did it primarily so I could work on my family,
Nice.
which is interesting because you know Tweena and Quantum is and
Right.
Tongren is not
Right.
everyone's cup of tea,
No,
especially
it's
like
not. And I don't even think I'm pretty sure the mainstream doesn't even know what Tongren and quantum is. I mean, you got to be somewhat progressive to understand that, you know?
you know,
Um, so you entered this field of Tweena because you saw how it really affected your body and how it improved, and you wanted to help people. And so you started with your
yeah,
family.
yeah. I started with my family. I remember Dr. Wu is a business mentor. He is a business mogul. He is a coach. So he was expressing to me that you know that's what you do because it comes from your heart and that's your practice. So that
Yes.
was part of my I did 100 hours of training. That was part of my 100 hours of Tweena training. And then in terms of building a business, you know, you don't really charge your own family. So I
But
had to
eventually
also
you will.
I had to eventually shift the whole mindset altogether. Plus, like I said, I experienced Tweena and it was enough for me to spend money that quote unquote didn't have, you know, like you
Right.
know, other people that was probably like 10 or 20% of my income at that time, just
Right.
one session with Dr. Wu. And for my family, they're like, ow, this hurts. You know, I don't want to do more of this. Or my sister's like running away from me. I'm like, oh, you have a headache? Come here. And she's like, I'm out. I'm gone.
Well, they actually recognize it works. That's probably why they're running
Yeah.
away too.
Yeah. They,
So,
Dr. Wu would
wow.
tell us, you know, no pain, no gain. And
Right.
yeah, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I definitely took it on. And I had some phenomenal, remarkable testimonials come out on YouTube for Tong Ren. It's
Yeah.
exceptional. Like you don't really hear a lot about Tong Ren at all. You know, for the most part, I've never really heard anyone talk about it. But Tom Tam is the founder of Tong Ren Healing, and
Okay.
Fox 61 News nationally did a story. It's like early 2000s. So again, like many people aren't going to find that video all on their own, but it is really cool. There is some media coverage out there. For the quantum, I put out two testimonials when I was first starting my practice. A rabbi came to see me for prostate cancer,
Oh my
and
goodness.
he watched the Who Am I movie, so that's how he learned about us. And he was quoted 3 months to live. He came into the office with despair on his face, absolutely looking like, you know, he had no hope really, no way out, but he had practiced qigong and he practiced yoga, so he had faith and he watched the movie, so he was very intrigued. And he came in the office and Ming's like, okay, you're going to see Isaiah for quantum. And he's just looking at me like, what is quantum?
Right.
And I'm looking at him like, I just found out about this thing and I just got trained in Tongren. So, you know, like I don't have all the answers. That's where I got the electrician with the light bulb analogy, was because this quantum tool is like to me, it's almost like I'm hooking up a battery and like jumping your car, jumping your
Right.
system. I'm
Right.
putting all this energy. So he has a testimonial on YouTube. 8 or 9 months in, he goes back to the doctor, and the prostate cancer is gone. There's no trace of it. And the doctor asked him what he did, and he didn't know how to explain it. So he said, you know, I did some qigong, and I did some TCM, and I took some herbal formulas, and so that we do have that one out from quantum exposure. But for the most part, a lot of this stuff, you know, it sounds crazy when you're trying to explain it to
I
people.
know.
This is Tongren. This is the
Okay.
Tongren model.
Yeah.
Um, you have all the pressure points that we use in Tuina mapped out on a acupuncture model. Um, Sometimes the acupuncture practitioners will actually put needles in the model as well. But for me, as a Tongren practitioner, I use this magnetic hammer, and we tap. And this is how we do long distance healing.
But what do you,
Um,
I did talk with another practitioner about it just slightly before, but what is happening exactly, Isaiah, when you're tapping that statue and you said you're kind of, are you helping the person vibrationally? Like what is going on?
so this was so I am extremely American and I was Christian originally, coming into this world. So when
Yes.
I saw Ming banging on this thing, I was like, is he
Uh,
doing voodoo? like, it was
banging
like,
on
what
your
is he doing
doll.
now? It was like, I was like, we were doing so good. You just had to bring out the voodoo doll. So,
Okay.
so I'm I'm sitting in the Tongren class. He invited me to one, and I decided, like I said, I went into Tuina, or the first session I saw him. I didn't know what to expect. He pushed C2. My trigger was gone. I said, anybody else? I walk in the room and they're banging on the voodoo doll. I'm out. But for Dr. Wu, I'm here. I'm silent. I'm going to see. I'm going to experience what it is that's going on. In my training, I learned about synchronicity. So the universe has things going on in nature all the time that are beyond our words and beyond our understanding. And the way it was explained in the book is when birds take off and they fly together, somehow they all together know which one is in front, how to fly in perfect synchronicity, and there's no explanation to it. There's just a universal synchronicity across nature. And so when we tap on these acupuncture models, we are tapping into something called the collective unconscious.
Oh
So,
my
um,
goodness. Yeah.
Carl Jung talks about this in his shadow work, and he talks about how we all have a collective subconscious that all adds up to one greater energy that we may not fully understand.
The
And when we,
universal mind, I think, is what, like different religions and practices, it's like they call it
yeah,
universal mind, one consciousness, God,
yeah, yes,
Tao, right? So,
yeah.
oh
And
wow.
he says
Okay. I love this.
he says when you heal yourself, or when you develop your darker side, like when you basically reach enlightenment, you have your problem or your wound and you heal it, you're actually adding wisdom to that piggy bank of energy. And this energy is where chi would come from outside of us, and it's all around us, and we can take it in, and we can basically use it without exhaustion, is the concept. And so when we hit these acupuncture points, we are in our Wu stance, we are connected through practicing the postures with Tai Chi or Qigong. We're building up our Qi, and we are asking that energy to flow through us into the magnetic hammer, which is why it's magnetic, and then into the model, which we actually visualize to be the patient's body. And this
This is
allows
really,
us to
yeah. I mean,
this
this is,
allows us to
yeah.
heal someone regardless if they're in person, overseas, in another state. And we've had immense um, success with this as well.
So the patient doesn't have to even be on Zoom with you. You could just do this privately, or the person has to be in front of you on
No, they
Zoom.
don't have to be. They don't have to be in front of you physically. They can do Zoom so that you can talk to them, so they can tell you what it is they're experiencing, but they wouldn't have to physically be in the same room as you. So if they're on Zoom with me and they're in California, I can tap for them. If they're on speakerphone in California, I can tap for them. If they give me prior knowledge that at this time, they're because they have to, if they're long distance, they have to lay down and accept the healing and kind of stop everything that they're doing to experience it. So if someone were to say, at 3 p.m., I want you to tap for me, um, I would just say, okay, at 3 p.m., I'm going to tap for you and you're going to lay on the floor for about 30 minutes just to let all the healing energy come and be received by you.
But I guess I understand it's long distance healing, but does that
Yep.
person have to synchronize with you at the same time in the same time zone?
Absolutely. So, in order to do any healing work on anybody, whether it's physical or long distance, they have to want it. They have to ask for it and they have to be receiving it. So, like when I first met Dr. Wu, had I gone in there with the mindset and the closed mind and said, I don't really know what this guy's doing. What if this
Yeah.
doesn't work? And if I complicated it, the healing would not have been as because I was is like a magnet. I was receiving the energy that he was putting
Right.
out. So same thing with Tongren is like we do want that setup where we're tapping for them and they're opening themselves up to receiving it versus working in an office and not thinking about their body.
So Isaiah, when we were talking about the Tongren therapy, did you say that the person needs to synchronize with you on the tapping of the statue at the same time, at the same exact, I guess the exact same time as far as the date and when you're doing it? Or is it possible that you do the tapping without the person knowing when?
Oh, I see. So typically our format for Tongren is either class or appointment based.
Oh, okay.
So so it's 100% you need the client or the patient's approval to receive the healing. If they're not 100% invested, if they don't want you to tap for them, then you never tap for them. Um, and then when you are practicing Tongren, if you're in the class setting, the way we usually do it is we have the gong, then we go one at a time, and we'll go to one person and ask them, what are the three things that you would like? They'll let us know what they're struggling with and what they would like to have instead. And then they will sit back in their chair and just dedicate that small, brief period of time while we tap for them, and they'll accept the healing energy. It's kind of the same concept for long distance is you'll ask them what they're suffering, what they're struggling with, and what they would like to have instead. And then again, they will receive the healing while we tap at that particular time. For the long distance at the end, they lay flat on the floor just to take all the energy in. And for the class setting, we do a brief amount of tuina in a chair treatment setting.
Got it. So the patient has to tune in with you and harmonize with you at the same time then.
Yes.
Got it. That makes more sense. Yeah. Um, so from your experience of the people that you've worked on, like for example, that rabbi, he completely healed his prostate cancer.
Yeah. I mean, with entire immersion of TCM. So he took herbs, he did
Okay.
treatment, he did regular treatments, he fixed his diet, he made some lifestyle changes. I remember the patient expressing like that a lot of what was troubling him, a lot of his struggle was actually just coming from external influences in his life. And when he cleared a lot of that up, it really allowed the TCM to work magical, like experiences into his life where he would come back to me and he had other conditions along with it that were preventing him from doing his favorite activities like playing guitar, playing golf.
Mm.
And because he was feeling all this energy coming in from qigong and quantum, and he was drinking the teas, it felt counterproductive to then turn around and keep allowing the negative external influences to take away from everything that he was doing. So as he distanced those things, he would come back with these phenomenal stories every single week. I played guitar again. I can't believe I can play guitar again. And it's all in his testimonial video. But yeah,
Yeah.
he was happier and happier. The hope was coming back to him, and he did everything that we had to offer to get there.
Yeah. So he took action and welcomed all those different TCM modalities to heal himself. It's very interesting what you said, Isaiah, is that he mentioned external factors and sources that were stressing him out. And it sounds like it was inflicting pain in his body and his system. And yeah, that's something I think a lot of us need to be cognizant of, because we don't realize how much we're accumulating by being under all these various pressures in life. And then I think some of us who are even more sensitive and empathetic, we kind of absorb all that. Overall, Isaiah, what would you say have been some of the greatest benefits that you have had in this journey of TCM?
Greatest benefits: stability. I feel extremely stable. I feel like Dr. Wu has given me a second life. I feel like
Interesting.
I can, because like I feel like before I met Dr. Wu, it was like a reactive lifestyle. It was like, who am I based on what did I go through and what I was attaching to daily. And now I have this immense stability because no matter what I'm going through, good or bad, or what circumstance it is, I know our motto is to enjoy life. And because I have so many practices to fall on, it's almost like I can always find a way to make myself feel better without, pretending. Like I legitimately feel good. I can just kind of like realize that that external factor is not in fact who I am, and that it's going to come and go and life is going to flow. And that's got to be the best benefit right there, is just like being able
Yeah.
to handle the circumstances of life without them necessarily becoming who I am.
Right. Yeah, it sounds like you're very solid in who you are. Like your core is very strong now. That's what it sounds like. It's kind of like when your core is strong, anything that comes at you, you know how to handle it, you know how to manage it. It doesn't like overtake everything now. And that's what happens to most people is it overwhelms them and it overtakes who they are. So we're coming to an end of the interview, Isaiah. I'm curious to know, what was your overall experience training under Dr. Wu, being treated by Dr. Wu?
My overall experience is that Dr. Wu has got to be one of the most humble, greatest leaders I've ever met in my life. He has centered me, he has humbled me, he has shown me that, you know, life is to be enjoyed, and that sometimes, you know, wasting all this energy trying to combat all these problems can be so much harder than getting to the root cause and striking that one spot that is actually turning your life upside down. And it's always inside before it's
Exactly.
outside. Yes. He has shown me the truth to healing, but he's done it through so many different paths and so many different modalities. But at the end of the day, it's got to be the best feeling to have someone like Dr. Wu to look up to, and to just know that he's always learning. So every time I see him, I'm learning too. Like I'm always learning more. It's great. It's like there's no end to the lifelong learning with Dr. Wu.
What a great tribute. And my last question for you, Isaiah, is what would you say to someone that is skeptical of trying TCM and all they know is Western medicine?
Okay. This one I'm going to break into three parts. The first one is you absolutely need an open mind. You absolutely need an open mind to experience TCM because with anything in life, if you come in thinking that it's not going to work, you come in with anxiety or paranoia, you're going to get exactly what you're putting out because it's inside already. It's kind of already filling you up and it's it's going to change your experience. So having experienced all these things with a very open mind, um, primarily because my mom brought me into this and, sons trust their moms. So I was just very like open to that. And there are going to be moments when you're skeptical and that's not something you should necessarily fight, but just give it room, give it space to at least see the other side, see the other perspectives because you're the newcomer into a culture that
Right.
is based on 5,000 years of wisdom.
Right.
And the more you expand your mind, the more you open your mind, the more history lessons, the more cultural stories you will discover and find that there's no one way to see TCM. My second piece is that all of TCM is rooted in nature. It's
Mm-hmm.
rooted in, you know, meditating and being connected to plants and teas and farming and how would you live if you grew up in the mountains and the countryside. So we may not actually be 100% ready for that coming from our classrooms or coming from our work offices.
Right.
We're stepping outside of our comfort zone already. So it emphasizes the open-mindedness, but also kind of emphasizes the fact that we naturally will be healed by nature because that's where we come from. That's how we heal ourselves. And the third piece is there's nothing fancy that we are doing that anyone else can't do. And that I have to credit to Dr. Wu for showing me that because, like I said, I was young. I felt like, felt like this. I felt smaller when I was younger. I felt like, I had to try harder. But over the years, Dr. Wu has made it so clear to me with all these practitioners and all these students and all these walks of life that anyone can be a healer. Anyone can be a healer. Absolutely. Anyone can be a healer. There's nothing fancy that I'm doing. We all will specialize in something, but Dr. Wu has really made it clear to me that the patient is the healer. The patient is the one doing 70% of the work. And my analogy for that one is if you get a cut on your hand, it heals itself. It
Yes.
scabs over, the scab falls off and it
Right.
goes away. And maybe there's a scar, maybe there's not a scar. But the more we mess with it, when, when it happens, it will alter that process. But no matter what, originally, it was going to heal itself. And we can do things to either help that process or defeat that process. But regardless, each one of us is a healer.
So well spoken. Thank you, Isaiah. What golden nuggets that you had to share. I love hearing all of it. I wish we had more time, but thank you so much. I love hearing your story, Isaiah. It is very good meeting you.
Yeah, it
Thanks
was so
again.
lovely meeting you, Judy. Thank you so much. I'm honored.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Isaiah.
Bye bye.